My name is Timmy Gamboa. This is the Finless Forum. We're here filming episode 2 with Johnny Salta. Johnny, how you doing today?
Doing well. Hanging in there.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you so much for being here. You're definitely one of the most proactive pros that I asked to get his clips together and get excited to be on the show, so I can't appreciate it more. It's going to be a really good time. First thing I want to do is thank the Laguna Beach Cultural Arts Center for having us here and give a special shout out to Rick. Rick is in charge of all of this space and I'm so thankful to be using it. This is pretty much what makes the show as legitimate and special as it can be. And I also want to shout out Endlessly Pictures for being here. We've got a great film crew now. And I want to give a special thanks to Zach Henderson for putting up with our technical difficulties in our first episode. It took a long time and that kid put up with every single little bit of it. And I already promised him a totally renewed, just redo at this. So he's going to get 10 new videos and we're going to reshoot Zach Henderson's episode with the same crystal clear production that this episode's going to have, which I'm so excited about. And I partially just needed time to figure that all out. The summertime was really busy, but your guys' patience is what's making this so special. I didn't see one follower drop off the Finless Forum account since it started, and that was just really special to me. So it's clear that the people who tune into this show care about skimboarding. They care to see how much we care about skimboarding, and I just know it's going to be a good thing. So really, thank you everyone involved. The next thing we need to do here is let Johnny shout out the people who support him. Before we even get going, skimboarding, it's a small sport. Our sponsors are like our babies. We care about them so much. They take care of us. It's not easy to do in a small sport, niche of a sport. So Johnny, thank you guys.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Timmy, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. First of all, biggest sponsor, Victoria Skimboards. They're my main board sponsor. I also work for them, so they mean a lot to me. They're like family. Really appreciate Temps and them for supporting me for this long. Working with Matthew, Frank, and our wake department. Huge shout out. Next, what would I say? Reg Wetsuits, keeping me warm year round. They're a company from Japan. Their stoke level in skimboarding is next level. I think they have one of the coolest skim shops in the world. So I appreciate them. Zoom Skimboarding Wax keeps me going, keeps my boards fast. Joe is the man, has a big heart for skimboarding as well. So it's an honor to be on his team. Let's Party Traction, Steve Taylor, big shout out. I've always looked up to him as a skimboarder. He's been just one of those people that is always positive, keeps everyone happy and excited, and keeps a smile on your face. So
Steve is the man. Steve is the man.
Laguna Surf and Sport, the one-stop shop in Laguna. Can't forget them. I worked for them for 4 years. I believe you worked for them as well.
4 years, yeah,
so
as well.
I still go to them on a regular basis for my wax, just if I need new boardies, anything I can shout out. So big shout out to them.
Laguna Surf and Sport is essential to Laguna Beach. We
agree.
Appreciate them. I mean, they've done a lot for both of us, I'm sure. Jason Watson, Eric John, Jason Stairs. Absolute legends. Thank you.
And one of the few shops that I would say understands the core culture of surfing nowadays and doesn't just sell to try and make money, which I think is huge.
I completely agree. Shout out to the core surf shops out there, like
Sure.
Laguna Surf and Sport as well. We appreciate any core surf shops keeping that vibe alive. So
Yep.
those are your guys. That's awesome. Yeah. So with that being said, our sponsors are amazing. We love you guys. I want to get you guys involved with this eventually. It really doesn't make a difference though, because we're here for skimboarding, not sponsors, but we do appreciate you without a doubt. So with that being said, we're going to get started. Now, Johnny, I know you're stoked to be here, but let's talk about how you're really doing today, because I know some stuff's went on.
Well, yeah, I've been feeling really good. I just got over a shin gash injury, ongoing for like 2-3 months. And this morning I was having a great session at Thalia and broke 2 bones in my hand. So I'm going to be out for at least a month. If anyone wants to film, it's a good opportunity to hit me up. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here, but this is a little bit of a doozy that I'm dealing with right now, but it's all good.
Sorry
We're
to
here.
see that, brother.
Yeah.
That's the first thing Johnny said to me this morning via text. He was like, hey man, I've got something to show you. And there was a little video attached and it was like this video we're about to show you. And then basically him on his way to the hospital. So I was really worried that Johnny wouldn't be here. And we thought if he was going to be able to be here, it'd just be a cool thing to kind of hide from you guys until this moment. So if you're wondering why Johnny was hiding his arm, obviously you've got the news now. And it's unfortunate because I really like watching this guy skim. But it sounds like you're going to have a month out.
Yeah, not too bad. Only 4 weeks, I think. Probably starting when I get the real cast on. So
right.
We'll get through it.
Yeah, that sounds like music to my ears.
Yeah.
Some injuries can be so much longer.
I was really lucky, I think.
So I think we got to see this clip, Johnny.
Yeah, so that's to start us off. I fortunately filmed what happened today. It's kind of embarrassing, but we'll get it going.
You filmed this by yourself, right?
Yeah, it's on a tripod. I've been filming a lot by myself lately, just kind of setting up the shot and going through the way. So that's what you can go ahead and start.
Well, what happened to Johnny there happens to the best of us. No matter how good you are at skimboarding, sometimes you're going to mess up your drop. But explain a little bit about just how wrong this one went.
After rewatching it on film, I think this was karma for probably trying to assume that this longboarder was going to fall. And then he didn't, and he kept going. So it's probably karma for trying to go on his wave when he was already up. But yeah, I'm going to try to get this slowly so I keep sleeping on my left hand. But basically, I think my nose dug right about there, and I tripped basically over my board. I went to catch myself, and then my hand essentially, I landed on my hand and just essentially smashed it, and immediately knew that something happened.
It's honestly always our fault if we get in the way of someone that's taking off on the wave first. But you can't blame us for assuming they might mess it up, right? And
exactly.
That might have been, I don't know that was karma from that particular thing, but we can call it that. I'm sorry it turned into an injury.
Yeah, it's all good. It happened very fast, but we'll get through it.
I think it made the show a little more interesting, to be honest.
Exactly.
This is the straight up reality of skimboarding. It is so dangerous. The smallest little mistake turns into a month out, 2 months out, 3 months out. So be careful out there, fellow skimboarders, and anyone who's wanting to learn the right way, not the wrong way, and try to take it slowly. That's honestly the only advice I have for people who want to just learn by themselves, is to go slow. People always go fast and end up hurting themselves. Now, I would like to get into the real highlights here, because I know you came prepared with kind of your favorite clips. That is exciting to me. I know it's exciting to you. So let's let Johnny fire off the first clip.
Cool. First clip. There we go. I'll announce this one's by Steve Glade, I believe. Pretty recent clip from a contest I was in here in Laguna at Aliso.
This was insane in person, by the way.
And
I think we need to just play it 2 or 3 times.
If you want to control it, maybe.
So, yeah, I can do it. I'm sorry. You have a broken arm and I'm making you do all the work. Okay. So here we go. We did have to just run this back. Let me just say, this was during the Victoria Skim Contest. Mm-hmm. And I was right down the beach, and I watched this from a pretty insane angle. Maybe I'll just take that. Nice. Got us to show this one more time. So, I mean, at this point, what's going through your head, just ending up on the ledge, the lip, whatever we want to call it here, because it's almost like a hybrid between a ledge and a lip. What goes through a skimboarder's mind in this moment?
In this moment especially, I was so focused on just trying to get to a point of the wave that I could hit, and not really focused on just skimming, which I needed to do. And the first thing I did after I fell on this wave was wanting to watch it just to replay, what did I do wrong?
Right.
And it's hard to watch this, especially because you can see, if you go back a little bit, it would have been a much easier approach to take the low line down here, which you probably can't see, this lower line instead of the high road. And I could have just easily grabbed rail probably and pulled in and gotten a decent score instead of taking the adventure route that I chose. And I think that was more just out of adrenaline and trying to make that section and not thinking about cutting lower.
That's what you call going for broke. You got an award for this wave?
I did, funny enough, yeah. They called it the longest ride. I thought it'd be better titled as the most exciting maybe, but here we are.
Well, it was long, without a doubt.
And I'd like to add too, in this moment, I was against Gerardo Valencia, one of my favorite riders right now, and Max Bourne, who's always been very strong at the Vic. I would probably say this moment was 4 minutes into the 10-minute heat, and I had nothing under my belt. So I was really hoping for a miracle, and this definitely would have been maybe that moment. But that's just kind of some fun context to the moment, I guess, of that heat.
Well, I think it displayed some insane courage at the end of the day, and you deserved an award of some sort, whether it was for longest ride or most courageous ride. I agree with the fact that you got awarded for this. So
Appreciate it.
insane, Johnny. Legitimately insane. Not too many people would send that. So these are Johnny's favorite questions personally, and that's going to make them even that much more special. Joel Renouf. I'm hoping I pronounced your name correctly, and for any mispronunciations that go on this, I'm only human, and you guys have really neat names that are hard to say sometimes. So Joel Renouf wants to know when you started skimming. Oh, at JR Skims is his Instagram handle, by the way, at JR Skims. When did you start skimming, Johnny?
I started swimming when I was about 7, I believe. Same time I started surfing. I wouldn't say I got really into the competitive aspect of it though until I was probably 12 to 14 division, give or take.
7 years old. That's epic.
This is of it now, and yeah, now 31, and crazy to look back at it all.
That is so cool, dude.
Yeah.
7 years old was when he started, Joel. So question number 2, we're going to move right on to Leo Bushman. Mine, I just mentioned Leo Bushman is the most respectable young man on the beach. The passion that comes off of Leo Bushman and his family for skimboarding is commendable. I love the kid like a little brother. He is amazing at skimboarding already in only 2 years, and I could not be more proud of him to watch him grow as a skimboarder. So yeah, I had to shout out Leo a little extra there because that kid is like a little brother to me. Leo's question is, if you could skim anywhere and have it be perfect, have it be the perfect conditions to your liking, where would that be?
So just because I think there's so many points to that beach that have a different type of wave when it's on, like the cider could be firing. North end is some of my favorite routes I could possibly have, and then the middle of the beach gets very kind of all over. Like you can do all kinds of stuff, and it's there's just room for all kinds of stuff to like really try and perform. Essentially, is how I would describe it, and it's a great wave.
And you're great at riding that wave. I mean, when I think, where does Johnny skim? It's just the first things that come to my head are big barrels off of that creek route that forms over there off that sandbar.
For sure.
I'm not surprised.
100%. I figured what this clip is first, but
Oh my god. Alright, I say we run that back like twice and just start to talk about, when was this?
This was right about now-ish, but 2 years ago, October. I remember it in early October, and after like almost a year of skimming really good at Liesel, I thought this was some of the best conditions I've ever gotten there in my life. When it came to rafts and barrels, and that was basically all I did that day.
It looks insane. I mean,
yeah, it's pretty fun. I have an edit of this session, all filmed by Kelsey. I specifically remember Timmy, who I believe is a Delaware writer, now lives in Hawaii. He was also there, but one of my most memorable Liesel sessions I've ever had. Gloomy weather, but the waves were just pristine, glassy. Some of the best barrels I've ever gotten there.
it looks like it. Can you talk about that look on your face right there?
A little bit of fear and a little bit of I hope this goes well. I mean, there's inches of water beneath you, and then a 5+ foot wave right on your back. So
easily a 5 foot wave.
Just
right
hoping that things don't go terrible in that moment, but it was a lot of fun.
What board under your feet?
This one actually inspired this year's pro model. This was I'll admit, a slip up that I got from Vic that ended up being a little different than what I ordered, but I ended up loving it. And it's one of those boards that I traded in that I will never forget. I wish I kept it just because it was one of those magic boards.
Oh yeah, you can just tell. I remember you riding this one. The inspiration for your pro model, you said? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, so after that clip, we're going to move on to the next interview questions. Yeah. There's some really good ones here, so I'm super excited to answer them all. Jaden Fabrizio is the homie. Malibu, LA. I think he goes from LA area into Malibu to
Yeah.
skim because that's where I always run into him. I skimmed Escondido Beach with Jaden like not even 2-3 months ago, firing Escondido Beach. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that for the Malibu crew, but no, I think all the sand's gone now. Anyway, Jaden wants to know, with how long you've been skimming, what are you trying to get better at this point?
That's a great question. Definitely tech and just tricks. I think like if I am going to consider continuing to compete in the future, I think that's something I have to get more comfortable with to keep up with. I would say even the top 20 now, top 20 to 30.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like that. That's something cool to talk about too. But I mean, definitely tech and tricks out and just consistency of that too, and not just trying stuff at random. And being comfortable with it and throwing it at any kind of condition kind of thing. And then I've been really trying to do airs, which is something I would say I didn't take advantage of in the past, or just look for those opportunities in the past.
Right.
So I've been really having fun trying those, and especially re-entry airs and stuff like that, and seeing what happens. So
yeah. Everything you just mentioned is the guideline or layout for the future of skimboarding. So it's like, I think any skimboarder should keep their mindset where Johnny's is. That's just, if you want to stay involved, or I guess be competing with the top guys right now, you have to see yourself as a well-rounded individual. Because it's like, you know, there's guys that are so good at this or so good at that, and they go pro, but then you see them falter in situations where there's almost no opportunities but technical opportunities, or there's no opportunities but big wave riding opportunities, without a doubt. Jaden, thank you. I do think that question just led us into a very important conversation that I love to talk about. So anyway, next question from one of the other just most respectable younger kids on the beach these days. I've recently seen a skyrocket in his improvement. He has a pretty good excuse to get good with his dad being the absolute best skimboarder of all time. But Indy Bryan wants to know, what age do you feel like your skills skyrocketed? And it's funny he's asking that because his skills are skyrocketing as we speak. But I like this question, Indy. Thank you.
I cannot wait to see what Indy does even a year from now. Like, I know he's going to be one of those people that's just going to be, I mean, and like you said, it's obvious coming from Bill, one of the greatest of all time. But he just got that mindset to really focus on variety and try different things and not rush. Like, his stardom is how I would describe it, which I think is really cool. I thought this was a great question as well, because how I want to answer this is more, I think, a mistake I made just more out of just not knowing and living life being younger. Is I would say I feel the best I've ever felt until this morning as a skimboarder, just because I learned probably later than I should have how to take care of my body and be ready to perform, and also know when to stop is a very big thing, especially the older I get, is I really have to learn how to listen to my body. And I think that's really important. But yeah, I think the reason I feel I'm at a greater point of my skimboarding is because I got out of and this kind of goes back into the last question. Like, I was very into this one track mind where I always focused on trying to get like the farthest wrap out and get a barrel and ride it back in. I always had in my mind, it was like the ultimate goal of just trying to get a barrel and getting in and out, but like, it's not realistic on every wave you go for.
Right.
But that was always what I did. So that's kind of how my skimming, like, as much as I would say that's I don't want to call it my specialty, but what I like to do the most, it worked against me, especially in competition. And I think it took me understanding the mindset of what makes a good rider, kind of what we talked about with expanding on my skill set, is knowing what's going to help you beat the best.
Right.
Essentially. And then what are my weaknesses? What do I need to improve? And then I started focusing, like, okay, like, stop just going for a wrap every time. Like, go for a front side or try an air. Like, I was always afraid of looking bad. I still am. And now,
well, you don't have to worry about that.
Now I'm very, like, I'm having more fun trying different things that I've never done before. And if I get it on film, I'm like, it's like the most rewarding thing ever.
Mm-hmm. I think I personally watched you make those decisions and go from being that one-track minded skimmer to like, it was like 1 month Johnny's doing this, the next month Johnny's doing that, the next month Johnny's doing that, and then all of a sudden it was like, holy crap, Johnny is like to be counted in as like top 10 full, well-rounded, amazing, consistent skimboarders. But I really watched you like step by step, like go, like I just watched it all change so fast. Like you could tell there was a shift in your consciousness with like what you wanted to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you were just getting super barreled at Aliso all the time, and it's like all I would see. I was like, if I see Johnny, he's just getting shacked at Aliso, and that's not a problem. It's what's funny is it's not a problem. But when you really get into the nitty gritty, you realize like guys like Lucas Fink, guys like Blair, Gerardo, you hear, I'm like, it's hard to create a list on the spot, but these guys are so well-rounded. They can show up anywhere, any day, and just throw down. So it's incredible. And if I'm not mistaken, the clear answer is you feel best now. If you didn't just break your hand. Now, with that being said, I think it is ready. We're ready for clip number 3. Yeah, and you know, we never know how long we're gonna get into these, but we will maybe try and be more concise as we go on. As passionate skimboarders, we get very carried away in our conversations, but we want to make sure we get through all these clips and get through all these questions. My God, okay. I'm running this back right off the bat. This is in Aliso again. So, hold on, I'm sorry. Before we even get too far into the clip, I have to ask you what it's like when you have a ledge in front of you like that. Because if you can notice here, people, there's not just a wave, but there's a massive hump of water in front of the wave. And that sets up any skimboarder in a pretty interesting situation.
You know, I would usually say that it's definitely an obstacle, but I've gotten, and I have another one in this series, 2 of my best waves at Aliso where I had to do that hop, and I feel like it set the wave up after to really like form well.
It creates a backwash almost, I think, in the face. So then that's like your chance to doggy door out of the barrel sometimes. And that terminology might be foreign. But what I'm talking about here is as Johnny comes around and the wave sort of bounces right here, I would like to blame the bump that he originally hopped over in the beginning because, so this was when?
This was, when was that? I want to say maybe a little bit after New Year's. The main reason I chose this clip, though, if you want to go right about where it stops on the bottom board art, perfect.
Yeah,
so I specifically chose this clip because this was a special wave caught on this specific board. I made this board through an artist in town, Star Shields. He's an airbrush artist at the Sawdust.
I recognize that.
And it was just a really special, like, I grew up going there and visiting him, getting my face painted when I was younger, like all my life. And I always admired his art, and it was a really cool, like, and it was funny how easy it all happened. Like, it was just like, hey, I want to do this. Ask Tex, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Like, oh yeah, here's the fabric, give it to him. And like how quickly it happened and turned out incredible. And to get a wave like that on that specific board to end shape was just a very special feeling. And that's kind of why I chose that clip.
Yeah, no, that is so rad. I had no idea some of Star's art made it onto the bottom of his skimboard.
So super cool guy. He's got a really cool lineup with Volcom, where he had like a full line of board shorts, shirts, all kinds of stuff where his art's like displayed, which I think is really cool.
Shout out Star. He's made a lot of art. Childhood memories, super special.
Cool,
I know I got
artist.
my face airbrushed by him too.
For sure.
Pretty much anyone that grew up in Laguna Beach that's went to the Sawdust Festival has ran into that guy. He's an absolute legend.
This is Stars.
Oh, no way. There we go.
Let's bring in some of Star stuff really quick.
What's it
Just
say?
he's on the all right.
420.
This is the difficult name to pronounce if I've ever seen one. So we've got Chanchai Silvagani. We're going to go with that, okay? Because that's a very difficult name, and I appreciate you participating, my friend. How do you see skimboarding growing in another country and all around the world?
First of all, I want to shout out Chanchai. Chanchai just opened up a shop in Thailand and started carrying, I'm pretty sure their goal is to carry most skimboard brands, but they are carrying Vicks. I know they're on their way to a lot more. But very cool, specifically called Salted Skim, which I think is an amazing name.
Right.
I think skimboarding is, I don't want to say as big as it's ever been, but globally, 100%.
So any of you billionaires watching this, skimboarding needs a really awesome investor to set up like the coolest world tour ever.
It's
So all
that-
these really rad foreign guys can get involved.
I think it's going to take some time of just proving grounds of like a lot of the events that are spotlighted right now have been running for, I mean, the Big's on their 45th year. I know the East Coast events are going on 30 plus years at least. So it's a lot of proving ground and like just knowing that we can trust other groups of people around to kind of run things.
Right.
And I would say, I mean, even the core groups need work on their own, but the talent internationally and the hunger that these guys have, I mean, the top 10 lineup on both the women's and men's side this year had a good handful of international riders, which is amazing to see.
I agree. So fun skimming with those guys. I mean, they're so talented. It's like they keep us on our toes. I mean, all the
100%.
international guys are pushing the limits, and I think they wake everyone up that's not already woken up. So it's really special. That's for sure. This next question is being asked by one of my personal favorites in the world. His name is Corey Ryan. He goes by Bum Fancy on Instagram. This man is as fancy as it gets when it comes to technical abilities, overall abilities on a skimboard. I think he paved the way for a lot of us. So it's super important to acknowledge Corey Ryan and all of his legendary Santa Cruz activities on a skimboard. He wants to know why you drop the way you do and what influenced you to pick that drop.
You know, it's funny, when this happened this morning, this was one of the first things I thought of because I thought it was really funny that this happened off of a bad drop. And it was also one of those questions that I think I thought the most about because at first I was like, it's something I'd never really thought about until I backtracked. Part of it, I think this goes back into my one-track mind of like trying to get the farthest out wave and just timing like when I'm going to get the most distance off of when the water's coming in.
Right.
Another part, which I don't think Corey's going to like the answer to because he's a skater, is I skate Mongo. So I drop my back foot, I step back foot first and go on front, and I also like kick Mongo. So that I'm sure that has a little bit to do with it after thinking about it a little bit.
I have never thought about the correlation between Mongo pushing and back.
And then I think the ultimate, and I hope Corey appreciates this because I look at him in this category of like super unique skimmers that made a big difference but kept their cool and kind of low key. I learned everything fundamentally that I know from Brandon Roth. And he is one of the most stylish, kind of cool characters of skimboarding that I think will ever exist in the history of skimming. And like he immediately took me into like, I knew how to get on my board, but he really was like, this is the way,
Yeah.
you know?
That's so accurate.
And
I just want to give another warm shout out to the Laguna Beach Cultural Arts Center and Rick, who is blessing me with this space here. This is like beyond what I could have imagined when it came to the Finless Forum. I thought we were going to be in my living room, to be honest, in the beginning. And that had a cool ring to it, but this is what it really needs to be. So thank you, Rick. And the wine they're providing for us is wonderful, and we could not appreciate that anymore. Thank you, Laguna Beach Cultural Arts Center. Clip number 4. Let's go. Who's filming?
this one is by, this was a personal clip. Actually from this morning.
Oh my god, I had to pause it because I had a feeling I could get that sweat. So I'm sorry guys, let me let that play for you full speed. Oh, here we go. Where were you at?
Daily Street. I chose this because I was trying to bring something new today. I was really excited to try to get a cool new clip this morning, just out of knowing that I was going to be here. I didn't have any frontside clips, so I thought this would be a fun little addition on top of everything to add a little variety. I didn't know Cody personally, but he was one of my inspirations growing up, so it was always an honor to try to do some kind of swag. So that one was for skimboarding, is what I would describe it as.
I didn't expect you to bring Cody up right now.
Yeah.
Cody is like an uncle to me, and the fact that you wanted to show this for Cody is amazing. And Cody Lopez, Tyler Lakota Lopez's full name, was one of the best skimboarders in the world and an uncle to me. And he is no longer with us anymore, and it's extremely unfortunate, but every skimboarder in their right mind is basically trying to do this for Cody, because Cody was the best at that right there, the best at hitting the lip extremely hard. And I think you did him a justice here, Johnny. That is a beautiful turn, dude. And I just really want to talk about that quick check turn, or what do you call that? What do you like to call what you did right before you hit the lip?
Call it a setup.
Setup turn.
And like, it just helps. Like, I always use the term surfy, but I just feel like it really helps get that flow of setting your rail into the wave and keeping your speed and also keeping your balance of coming back. I think frontside turns like this especially are really crucial of how you angle it. So I think that setup turn really gets that angle into not coming at it too straight on.
Now that we have gotten through that beautiful turn, I want to jump into the next interview questions. First one, Chance Boyer. Chance Boyer was just shredding ridiculously hard either yesterday.
Like, do you have to give this, I don't want to call it an award, but the answer to this question to Malake? I think it was my second trip there. It wasn't a contest. It was in January. And the reason I chose this, I had a session there on January 17th is my dad's, who I lost his anniversary. And I had a session there on his 10-year anniversary of losing him in a place that, according to Diego, our host there, is someone that like, he's like, this spot rarely works. And it was just one of those feelings of like, everything felt like it connected.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So I'll always give that trip a very special just feeling when it came to riding waves and skimboarding. But I really can be so grateful for every opportunity, regardless of location, that I've been to, because it was all very special experiences.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Seriously, you just touched me with that. Because I've had sessions where I felt like there was something going on. It wasn't
Exactly,
just
yeah.
Mother Nature
Yeah.
At hand there for how good the waves were.
Yeah.
So, Chance, you took us to a good place. Thank you, buddy. Velocity Skimboards. Velo is the owner of Velocity Skimboards and the shaper too.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So Gary, shout out to Gary, spreading all those good vibes over in Santa Cruz area. Right?
Yeah.
Santa Cruz is where they're out of.
Yeah.
Skim idols and why?
Yeah. Gary is also one of those people I give a lot of credit to give me a lot of board knowledge of how my boards perform. Probably because he's a great shaper.
Nice.
So I just want to shout that out real quick. But Skim Idols, right away, I'll give Brandon Roth a lot of my credit based off of style, just overall performance, and just standing out to be himself, which is something I really aspire to continue to do. Always will give a lot of credit to the Bryan brothers, George and Bill Bryan. They essentially created my viewing of how I saw skimboarding as a kid, to where I would look at them as celebrities. Like, if I were to be put in a room with those guys and everyone that had a section in their videos compared to the Academy Awards, I'd probably be just as excited, because I looked up to those guys and those parts and those memories and those jokes that were in those films. Like, I feel like I remember those more than I do some of the waves in the parts, you know, and it's what really made that. And I'll also point out that's why I really appreciate what you're doing, because I think it's going to really show the personalities of everyone. But yeah, so I give the Bryan brothers a lot of credit. Paulo Prieto, one of my favorites, clean, charging style. Morgan Jess is one of my idols. I also feel like he really helped get me into a professionalism of skimboarding. I also think he has one of the coolest careers as a skimboarder out of anyone when it comes to travel and opportunity.
Right. Real estate, right?
Now, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the list goes on. I have so many things from certain riders that, like, if it's a specific move they do or a specific way they turn. But yeah.
That's a good list. And you know, it's a little odd how close it is to my list. It's good to know we look up to the same idols, man. I mean, geez, that's so neat. So now we are going to move on to clip number 5.
There we go.
We have been just getting absolute heat from Johnny. I'm so stoked on these clips already that he's chose.
This is a recent clip from Greg Solag Local. I think it's Greg Vivani. Is that right?
I don't know his last name, but I
last name,
love Greg. He's literally the man, and
Yeah.
it's clear he cares about skimboarding at this point. He's
Always
just
in the
like
right spot.
flipped the switch. I don't know if it was a year ago now that he just like flipped the switch and started saying like, I'm going to be a really good skim photographer or videographer or whatever. But he's really got on Joe Bailey's level, I would say, because Joe Bailey was like the original. I don't want to speak too loosely here, but to my knowledge, Joe Bailey really set the bar for putting himself in like Clark Little style critical places to capture this footage. And Solag Local Greg is just like taking it and pushing it forward. I mean, I've seen the guy get destroyed just to get a good clip. I mean, he puts himself first, and when it comes down to the skim clips, I'm so proud of him, honestly. It's just getting better and better. Oh, I know which wave this is, I think. I'm sorry, but before I even let the clip play through one time, that is about as good as it gets for an opening up of a barrel. I mean, to be a videographer in this position with a skimmer, I know it's special. And to be the skimmer is like, goes without saying how special it is. I mean, the look on your face says it. Another one of those just iconic facial expressions. That's the look of like, I'm getting extremely barreled right now. I'm gonna get destroyed within 2 to 3 seconds, but someone's capturing it, and that's all that matters right now, is that this moment is going to be remembered forever. So boy, so we must run it back. That's probably one of my favorite just on sand in the barrel videos I've ever seen. I mean, did you see, I think that and the one with Zach LeBon recently too, you and him both got like the best POV, or no, sorry, not POV, the best just on sand in the barrel clips of the year. That is absolutely insane, Johnny. Were you still on your pro model here?
That one, yeah, is my pro model.
The newest, latest, this was not that long ago. How long ago was this?
Couple weeks. I mean, this was right before Elisa got pretty destroyed, like 2 days before, probably. It's a couple weeks ago.
These 3 days were like the best 3 days I have ever seen at Aliso. And I just want to say that Johnny was having an absolute heyday. It was insane. I'm gonna run that one more time, just because it was so insane.
I think it's funny too, like this wave in particular, I think was maybe my second wave of the session. Like just happened to be like, I saw how crowded it was and how good it was. And I just once again ran up, barely warmed up, and like lucked into that one just out of the whole lineup that was going on that day. And it just goes to show like, you never know when you're going to take off your best wave. And like this is one of those waves that I would say made my year. And that's why I skim and what I look for at Aliso. Even though it's a pretty simple, just point out, get a wrap, and come into a barrel. But it's an indescribable feeling. Time freezes, so can't complain. But it's a lot of fun.
Time did freeze, my friend. That is beautiful. Let that barrel ride out one more time. Just hearing Greg stoke at the end of that one is special. So, what were you trying to relay to me? I'm just a little confused.
15 minutes to wait to change the SIM card.
Okay. Right. I think that we've maybe succeeded at speeding up a little bit. We're going to keep trying. Okay. I will pay you for all of your time. That is what is important. We'll see what it turns into. I think we're really doing good right now, and it's exactly what I want. So it's yeah, you can see it in your eyes. You can see it in my eyes. This is epic. So on to the next interview questions. Nate Sandberg, love the kid. Familiar with him to a major extent. He's gotten better and better throughout the years. And just an overall like consistent good guy. This guy's always like spreading love, commenting on everyone's posts. Nate's a true passionate skimboarder, and I think this is a really neat question that he asked. He wants to know your favorite novelty spot.
The past couple of years, I have found that scoring a novelty spot or wave or like different place I've never been, I look at it almost as like hitting a skate spot and like trying to complete something in that spot. And why it's so special, I think, is because one, it's the ocean. It rarely works good. So if it's a spot that is known to be special, like it's gonna happen a couple days of the year, if it even happens that time. And so it's one of those feelings of like, if you're there when it's working, it's like you're there at the right time, at the right place, like everything just feels connected, and it makes it that much more special. And I really like, that's almost made me more excited for skimming lately than anything else, than like competing well, than whatever. Like if I get a cool wave at a place that I don't think should usually get a good wave, I feel like I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
And to answer the question, we'll see it later on, and I don't want to give away too much information about it. But
that's your favorite, huh?
The whole experience of this liner spot I got that I didn't even know existed until a year ago was such a special feeling of skimboarding where I don't know how to describe it. It was like my first travel trip. It was like discovering a first wave for the first time. It was like getting a first wrap barrel.
Yeah.
Like to see a wave perform in that way that I didn't even know worked in my backyard was like, it was, I can't, like, I mean, I really feel indescribable.
Revealing. So let's move forward, and you're going to know the favorite novelty spot when we get to the clip. Okay, Craig Johnson. Craig Johnson wants to know who your favorite riders to watch right now are and your current Stoke videos. And I do have your reminders for the videos there too.
Yeah. Shout out to Craig. He's doing a great thing. I know is a big part of the Skim Discord. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's just a cool little messenger system for skimboarders to kind of be a part of. Anyways, let me see. Favorite riders to watch right now. I'm always going to say Blair because I feel like he has such a magical connection to the ocean. And for whatever reason, when he shows up to the beach, all of a sudden the waves turn on to like the point where it's like frustrating because you're like, it's like wild. I'll be at Aliso and all of a sudden the waves turn on and I'll turn around and I'm like, oh, Blair's here. That makes sense.
Yeah. He brings the waves
out. And I think he has just such a magical way of flowing and like making things happen that most can't do. So I'll always give him credit to current riders that I love watching. I have to put you in the list for variety and people that are willing to stand out and do something different and try different things, bringing in skate style and not competing for a while and placing top 6 at least in the past couple of events you did.
Thank you, man.
Which is really awesome. I think you're a lot of people's favorite skimboarder, so I have to give you a lot of credit.
Thank you, dude. You don't have to say that. Just
No, I really am not. I seriously,
but that means a lot, man.
Other than that, Weber, I think has such a cool surf style. The list goes on, and this goes back into my same idols that I have. There's so many riders that I appreciate right now. The Valencia brothers, I think, are bringing such a cool energy to the sport.
Me too.
I always have admired the Sinets. I think Sammy is one of the best competitors of all time. And it shows in his results.
Shout out Sam Sinet.
Yeah. So, I mean, that list goes on and on to, I could keep going.
Right.
Those are the first to come to mind.
And I'd sit here with you all night and talk about it if I could. Anyway, we've got the next question is by, This Is Mom? Oh, no, sorry. Part of the next question, this is a double question from Craig. Yes. Your Stoke videos.
Sorry, I forgot to answer that.
No worries.
Right away, I'm always going to give 10 Ski Bros my credit. For whatever reason, I feel like I started getting into their realm around earlier than Weird Science, but for whatever reason, that was the one that I will always remember just playing on repeat before a contest.
It's so sick.
VIC is a huge one for me. I think being connected to Vic, shout out to Scott Sinet, who I think directed that one, and just a very cool lineup. I think before a lot of the other brands became involved, and it was just very cool skimboarding. I remember the music very well, which I think has made a big influence on my life. And then This Is Mauve, Adam Hayward has made a lot of cool videos. I always watch your guys' trips to mainland, which are really cool in the middle of Mexico and in the middle of nowhere. Just the dream trips.
I was fortunate to be on that trip
Yeah.
without a doubt. It was
That's what it's all about.
Adam Hayward. I have to stop and say is just God. I wish he could. I hope he hears when I say that he is got to be the most influential skimboard filmer, editor. He created a website called This Is MOV, and it was the fuel for most kids' fire when I was growing up getting into skimboarding. You had to pay $2 to access his videos, and it was like, dude, I want to just get my whole family to buy this guy's account because he's like these videos. I should be paying $20 a month to see what this guy's putting out and whatnot.
And it's a lot of time. I want to point that out for everyone that's filmed. That's why I appreciate everything Kelsey did for me. It is a lot of time to spend on the beach to film people and get good quality footage and take the time after to edit it and go through it. So it's much appreciated. I also want to give a big shout out. And when this gets released to the public, it will be on repeat for me. Easy Slider by Skylar, that will be hopefully soon out to the public, is going to be on repeat for every skimboarder. It's one of the most phenomenal films I think made in skimboarding. So that'll be really cool when that comes out.
I really wanted to go to the premiere of Easy Slider Skyrar. It was not intentional that I was not there. I actually just don't even want to bring my excuses into the picture here, but I will watch Easy Slider. I'll be buying Easy Slider. That's without a doubt. I have heard such good things about it. I feel silly that I have not watched that movie yet. So with that being said, those are wonderful videos, Johnny. I'm sure that you get extremely fired up on them. We're going to move on to your clip number 6. At this point, I think that it is smart for us to rifle a little bit, but not too much, but a little bit. So we've got Brandon Sears on the camera. Oh my God, dude. So that's the creek, right?
North Indish, yeah.
This is Johnny's special little place, I would say. I mean, I have too many memories of seeing this guy just end up in like the craziest positions in the barrel here. I'm honestly so envious of regular footers getting to enjoy this beautiful wave that forms off of the creek right there. But absolutely firing. How long ago was this?
This was the beginning of, I would say November of 2021, so going into the new year this past year. And it was, one of those days that just everything was connecting and the waves were on point and indescribable. But yeah,
that first moment when you drop down the ledge has got to be just like the best feeling ever, right?
When it's funny when you see a wave that good, at least for where I feel in my skill set, I'm just hoping I don't blow it. And it's such a special feeling to approach such an opportune moment that you're just hoping you don't blow it. And for it to go well and in, watching it over, I still feel that same excitement.
Right.
So,
incredible.
So that was a fun one.
Clip number 9 is calling our name. Let's get it. Or clip number 8 is calling our name. We're going to get these handled right now. I already have a good feeling about these clips. Kelsey Bloom on the camera with a winch. We're going to need to take a moment and talk about what's actually happening here because it's much different than the other videos. That was a beautiful turn. So just because this is a completely different style of riding waves, we have to just tell the world what you're doing here. So you are being pulled out to sea, not with your own force, but...
Right away, I give credits to Skid Kids and Blair Conklin, and I think Andre was down there this day. It's one of those moments where I still felt like my outsider self, and they were doing their thing and had everything setting up. I don't think it's one of their first times they were testing out the winch, but I will say that this particular wave was my first moment that I was handed the rope and they said, good luck, and I just hope for the best. And it was wild to see after, because I had multiple attempts after this that did not go this well.
This is your first try on the winch, dude.
And that I was just so stoked that it went well, and it probably could have gone better, but in that moment I was just so stoked to get one. And like after that I felt so many times I just like got dragged against the water, and for it to just plan out that way, like it's so intimidating to get handed that thing and run like 50 yards down the beach, and then you're just waiting for a wave to come in and everyone's like go, and you're like, I don't know if I want to go on this one. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad it worked out.
So wow, we're down to the last 2 interview questions, last 2 clips. Things are gonna wrap up pretty fast here for us. We've had a wonderful episode and conversation, and I'm just so stoked with all of the deep insight and all the patience from our film crew. So we've got Brack Flyday. I think we talked about how Brack doesn't have a name, right? He's just Brack Flyday. I want to know what the story is with your name one day, but for now we're going to ask you a question. How to warm up before skimming and any other stretches you do afterwards to recover and prevent injury.
This goes into my common theme of the one-track mindset. And this is something I really wished, and I couldn't express it to anyone that's younger, how important it is to warm up and take care of your body, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes. And that's something that I am grateful for now. My biggest thing, you struggle with it too. I've had a really bad knee injury, and it took me almost to the point where I never knew if I was going to get over it.
Right.
And that took it was strengthening my hips. So it was learning like hip strengthening exercises and squats, and like taking care of that, and flexibility I think is very important. I can't express that enough. But I think it is very important to like not rush into a session, and especially if the waves are good, and just get your body loose and warm and comfortable. And I mean, especially if you're older and at my age, like take care of yourself, because the simplest things can happen and you hurt yourself. And
you're just waving that cast around, dude.
I mean, this is something that like I don't even know if I could have strengthened this to prevent this situation, but
freak accident for sure.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. If you want to skimboard for real, you have to put in that extra time. So that brings us to clip number 9. And to clearly answer your question, my friend, stretching, exercise, consistency with those things, persistence to the program. I mean, you cannot short yourself when it comes to stretching.
Listening to your body.
100%. Clip number 9 is about to take place. Filmed by Jacob Gregory.
Oh, say it after.
No way. Okay, I haven't even seen this clip. That was insane. So, really good. We need to double back on that.
Oh my!
This is almost like a 3-shove airdrop, which is kind of, I would say, a more innovative maneuver. So I'm gonna just try and pause it mid 3-shove here. I completely failed to pause that mid 3-shove, but I think our film crew is gonna be able to help us out with stuff like that. That's the catch. I mean, let's just talk about how critical of a maneuver this was. I'm gonna play it back a couple of times. So right about there, I mean, you just popped a big 3-shove. How does that feel?
Someone in our gigantic crowd out there asked me earlier how I think about the moment and how much I'm thinking. And I think this is one of those moments where, as I was turning and saw a bump coming, which is right about here where I popped it, was just like I wanted to do something different and get out of my normal habits of doing what I always do. And for it to go well was a special feeling. And I think this is at the beginning of my mindset of like, try to do more,
Right. It looks amazing. I mean, you nailed it on this one.
So it was a fun feeling. I really I especially chose this moment for this podcast to like show variety. I hope I have more on the way. I mean, there's a lot to compete against when it comes to comparing to other people, but it was a fun feeling for me and something I've never done until probably then.
No, I mean, that was amazing. And
especially on film.
I only really see like Gerardo do like 360 shove it and then get barreled right after. So that's like a super radical combination for skimboarding in general. I commend you for that, my friend. Which brings us to our final interview question. Benny Schmidt, thank you for participating. You are the final Finless Forum question of the night. There isn't a single pro skimboarder who can do flip tricks, we're going to correct you there, and few who can do even shoves, yet lots of non-pro skimboarders around the world can. Do you think the sport is being held back because the best of the best are not getting into contests or getting brand deals? I'll let you take the night.
I love it because this is the one question that I was like, oh, I can't wait to give some heat back. Right off the bat, I'll start from the beginning of the question. First memory that I have this past year, I don't think you were there. Delaware, Jackson Tenney almost completed a pretty legit varial flip out the back. So we'll count it. I've seen Morgan Just almost pull it. I've seen Blair almost pull it. I'm sure you've almost pulled it. And that's also how you probably almost got injured one time.
Flip tricks have been done.
But this is the thing. I will say, regardless of technical stuff, the first thing that I thought about in this question was, at the end of the day, skimboarding, in my opinion, is a wave. Depending on who you ask, skimboarding in my competition level is a wave riding sport. So those things are, at the end of the day, extra. Yes, are they the hardest thing to do? For sure, 100%.
Right, I agree.
But is it what defines the best? Maybe. Will I say that it's not shown in people that are competing right now? Definitely not. Maybe it's not shown on a consistent level, but it's been done. But to the main point of this question, there are people in different countries that do not have the same accessibility as most of us that 100% deserve the spotlight more than most. And it's very unfortunate that for just a variety of reasons, mostly financially, sometimes even based on where they're from and the accessibility to travel from where they're from to wherever they need to go. And just the most bizarre reality of that is just out of their control. There's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. But, and once this goes back into the previous question from a while ago, I do believe that talent is recognized and it will be displayed.
Eventually.
Hopefully soon.
It's just a matter of time, and I have to mention Sony. Sony Boy is his Instagram.
And I'm sure that's where this question is coming from.
I think this is one of Sony's fans or something that asked this question, but I mean, the guy does flip tricks all day long. He's like a master at it now, and he can do a flip trick out to a wave. And yes, I think if Sony was in a big contest and he did a varial kickflip out to a wave, he would probably win. So, I mean, skimboarding is being held back in many different ways, and that's definitely a part of it. But is it the most important? No, I totally agree with Johnny. Flip tricks are extra, and if you're able to complete that in the midst of riding a wave, it's completely phenomenal. And the board is so wide, it was never really designed to be flipped. So for people to desire flip tricks out of a board that was designed to just ride a wave, I don't really know what to say about it besides it's not meant to be, but when you can accomplish it, it's simply phenomenal. And Sony is like the only guy I've ever seen do a varial kickflip on his way out to a wave, and he holds the crown for flip tricks. It's not even a question. I mean, Jackson Tenney was like the first guy to do a big flip out the back. I remember watching that YouTube video as a little kid thinking to myself, this is where skimboarding is going to go. But as time goes on, I mean, you realize the width of the board is not, it's not designed for that. It's designed to ride waves. At the end of the day, we want skimboarding to grow regardless of flip tricks. Flip tricks are going to set certain athletes apart.
Oh, I remember now. I was going to say, a perfect example of someone that is so talented on a skateboard, and once again goes right back to you, is you haven't been competing in a while, but you've had a mindset and skill set that I think outranges what most can do on a skateboard right now, and it really showed this year because you, one, wanted it, and two, knew what you could do and focus on that and focus on those opportunities that were presented in front of you. And like, you only did 2 or 3 events, and you placed top 6 in both.
It was a beautiful year.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
just so
this goes to
thankful.
show, like, I think this is what I was going to say. This past year of skimboarding and competition and the level that people brought to this sport was so beyond anything that we've ever seen, that, like, when it came to judging, when it came to scoring, when it came to what people were seeing for the first time, like, it was unbelievable.
There's something happening in
And-
skimboarding for sure.
And we're having to do a big adjustment because of it. But I mean, I think we have a huge show in front of us, and that's why I love being a part of it. And it's I don't want to say just the beginning, but I mean, we have a lot to look forward to.
We really do. And with that being said, let's look forward to the final clip of the night. We need to check this thing out. I know Johnny saved
Appreciate
his
your guys'
best
patience
for the last. We have the most phenomenal film crew present with us. You'd be surprised if you knew just how patient these guys are. We're trying to learn as we go here. Finless form is only just beginning, and we have so much improvement ahead of us. But at the end of the day, I don't want to rush greatness, and this is great. So, bless you all for being here and witnessing this beautiful thing that we have. Wow, I love that you chose this one for the last one. And I think it's
For so
gonna
many
answer the
reasons.
novelty
For so many
spot
reasons,
question. Oopsies.
That's very good. So we're going here now.
Alright. Okay, so who'd you get to film this?
So this is the funniest, like, when it comes to getting a filmer and quality footage, this just happened to play out where somebody had their phone, they were willing to jump in. Walt, Leo's dad, happened to be there and was like, oh, I might as well shoot this. But Laguna Victor, he's a newly local resident of Laguna and very, like, pretty fresh into skimboarding, but also progressing at a rapid rate. Happened to be enjoying this session with us, and he took the time to stand on, like, the middle of this section and shoot this moment. And I will probably forever be grateful on this memory and being able to film it. And at the end of the day, like, the waves aren't that exciting, but the overall situation of getting a wave like this on a beach, where funny enough, if we go back to where I'll point out, go to the end probably. My house is up in these hills, and this location of Laguna is the one spot in town I can see from my house, which is so funny because I didn't know this was a skim spot until a year ago.
Right, I mean,
And I wouldn't even call it a skim spot. It's one of those things that, like, let's hope you get there at the right time.
yeah, I mean, this isn't a skim spot. At the end of the day, this is a miracle if you even get
You
this
know?
wave. It's never happening like this. And I do think it's worthy of a final pick, whether it might not look as crazy as an opened up Aliso barrel on the sand. You guys gotta understand that my friend Johnny here just ran right over rocks. Those are rocks that their water is boiling up over right there. And he's just been able to get over that foam ball and carry that wave through the line. I mean, just the fact that you get to run through a section of rocks. I mean, you got rocks over here, rocks over here. It's pretty much the sketchiest place in Laguna to skim at the end of the day. But if you're there at the right time and place,
And that was kind of that feeling of,
Score.
like, hitting a skate spot that's hard to, like, complete and, like, land that trick, essentially. And it was just that pressure of lining up that moment at the right time and getting around that corner. And I don't know, it's just another one of those connecting moments that felt so special. But
I agree. That was a beautiful last clip to choose there. Let it run one more time.
so
Everybody, that concludes our Finless Forum episode number 2. I am just so thankful for you to be here, Johnny, and the amount of passion that you have for skimboarding is undeniable. It's going to take you so far. Anything else that you want to add in this evening, I would love to hear it, but I'm literally just in awe of all of the support from you guys, and I know that some of you will watch till this last very moment in time of this podcast, because this
Need your
means
breaks.
as much to you as it means to me. And it's become something so beautiful, and we're gonna make improvements. And this format has shown to be a timely format, and I want to get some of your guys' opinions on, do you like a 1 hour podcast? Do you like a 2 hour podcast? Because there's adjustments that can be made, but for now, I want to just embrace the fact that we took this much time to talk about skimboarding, because I don't like to rush it personally, but I have so much consideration for those around me that I'm like, wow, this film crew is literally as good as it gets. And I appreciate you guys so much, because we have put in some serious dedication to this. Everybody here, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Johnny, thank you. Anything you want to add in at the end of the night?
I just want to
Please.
say thank you to you. I mean, I can top on just how special this whole feeling feels. I think there's going to be a lot of amazing people that you're going to bring into this show that people are going to love to hear about, and just overall get more stoked on skateboarding. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll probably be at the bottom of that list, so it's all good. But
I have to stop you there. This is the most humble individual.
But, no,
You've got great
it's
stuff
not-
ahead of you, brother.
not
I
good.
mean, I can't wait.
I'm stoked to be a part of it, and honestly, this is really I came on here for skimboarding, and I really hope to see things grow, and I do believe in it, and I think we're going in a good direction. So I think you got a good thing going, and I appreciate you bringing me in.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah.
And thank you, Skimboarding. And thank you, everybody. And
Yeah.
thank you, Endlessly Productions. Thank you, Endlessly Pictures, and Laguna Beach Cultural Arts Center. This space is so special to us, to be able to come here and celebrate skimboarding and talk about it and dissect it and answer your questions personally. It's my dream, really. This is my dream, and it's special. So thank you.
So,
Good night, people.
Yeah.